Atlanta is a 1.5 point favorite. This almost feels like a game we have to bet.
Thank you. Yes.
But I don't
You
want
know
to
what you
bet
have
it.
to do here, Chad.
Well, I think I know what we have to do. I don't know if you know what I think we have to do. Because I have been impressed with the Falcons defense, especially in the red zone. Like they
Yeah,
did a number on the Eagles and the Chiefs. Their coverage is top 10 in the league. Okay. But it's very hard to go back to the
I
well
know.
on Atlanta. We don't know the status of Drew Dahlman and Caleb McGarry, which is the whole reason we liked them against the Chiefs, their ability to block and create holes for Bijan against a Chiefs run defense that is just not very good. And then we saw how much their absence mattered in the rest of the game. Saints pass rush is mediocre. Falcons is non-existent. Saints coverage is top five according to Pro Football Focus. Falcons may not be able to get to run the ball. And then there's this home division favorites, 45% against the spread since 2015. Three games like that this week. Short home division favorite of 3 points or less, last 20 years, also 45% against the spread, 41% since 2020. I know what you want to say. Go ahead and say it.
But no, you were right talking about the offensive line with Atlanta. Like to me, they were up 14-7 when both those guys went out. And I
Yeah.
literally said to the guy I was with, I was like, there's no way we're gonna win this bet now.
No.
Like that was
And
the
it
whole reason we
impacted the end of the
loved.
game. Like they
Yeah.
couldn't run the ball, like they couldn't make the right decision
Well,
on.
the refs did fuck us though. That ball should have been on the one. We should have had a walk in
Yes,
touchdown, and then
that's right.
Mahomes was going to drive the field, get a field goal, and that's how that game was going to end. Just that was just this season. That was by far our worst bet
Yes.
loss. Like that was
Yes.
one. I don't know if Nick gave you the numbers yet, but we covered that like 70% of the time. Like
Yeah.
that was the right side. So that's always brutal when you lose those type of bets. But
I do think though on the next drive after that, when we got screwed by the ref on that Kyle Pitts play in the back of the end zone when it should
yeah, they
have
gave
been a
him three
pass
makeup calls
interference.
in a row.
Yes, they gave us three makeup. Like every time
Yeah.
they threw the flag, I'm like, oh, that's a makeup call. Oh,
But I
that's
kept
a
saying
makeup
not good
call.
enough. I was like, it's already over. I just knew no matter what, we weren't going to get there. But
Yeah.
um, in this matchup, you nailed it though. I feel like you talked about like the secondary of this Atlanta team is a strength. And you basically saw the blueprint the Eagles have given out here. The Eagles do not, I think we can both agree, do not have good edge rushers. Like I would say the Falcons might be even better with pass rushers on the edge. Like our best pass rusher on the Eagles right now is Brandon Graham, who's like 36 years old. It is bad. You know what they did? They held the edge. That's all you have to do against the Saints, apparently, and force Kamara back inside, and they struggle. So I don't think it's gonna be that hard for this Falcons team to take that film the Eagles just laid out there and set the edge. Now, obviously, they don't have their own Jalen Carter in the middle, but they do have pieces around it that can make it work. So I had this number at -3.5 before all the injuries to the O line. Now it's down to -3. So I'm still getting some good value here on this Atlanta team, but I get where your hesitation is. Like to me, this was going to be automatic one of our five. Now that both these guys might be out, that's a big deal. And on the flip side, the All-Pro center for the
Yeah.
Saints is going to be out. So it's like, as bad as it is for the Falcons, it's not that much better for this Saints team. Like that was really their anchor to that team that, they have their own questions marked up front on that offensive line. So yeah, Chad, I get where you're coming from. Like those stats do scare me a little bit that this probably isn't the best spot to take these home favorites, but I do like Atlanta here. I do think the number reflects us getting some value. So maybe by Thursday I'll get you to force this one in, but for right now, I get your hesitation with all the unknown injuries to this Atlanta team.
Yeah, it's just weird to me that your number only moved 0.5 point off of these two guys who might be the two best players at their position in the league and are the main reason why the Falcons are able to move the ball. Like their offense only works with play action, and the play action only works if people believe they can run the ball, and no one believes they can run the ball when these guys aren't playing. That right side of their offensive line is the most dominant right side, including the center in the league. That has been the case for the past 2 years.
It is a big deal, but it's really to move the number, man, you got to be either the quarterback or like one of the most important all pros. Again, moving by 0.5 point, I know it doesn't sound like much to you, but that's a lot of respect for these O linemen. So like that Eagles losing Lane Johnson, you could argue he's one of the best tackles in all football. I didn't even move at all for him. And that's just because I believe the guys they brought in. I mean, you saw Saquon's huge run was
Yeah.
after they already brought in the backup. So it's like, it is a big deal with some teams, but other teams, you're right. It's like, it's probably a bigger deal to Atlanta. Maybe I'm underrating a little bit, but even if I move it a full point, it's still 2.5. So it's like, okay, we're still getting a full point of value on this Atlanta team. But yeah, it's just really about the matchups in the trenches. I get the hesitation here just because of these injuries, but I still think it favors this Atlanta team overall.
This is what raises an interesting question. The value is probably on Atlanta. I think the Saints got a little bit exposed against the Eagles. The trends favor backing the Saints. So then it comes down to the players on the field. And like, there's so many injuries here that could shape this in a way that could go either way, right? You got to think that maybe the Falcons staff is going to be able to make more adjustments, obviously, through the course of a week of practice than they could do from the second quarter to the end of the game. Um, Very tricky. Very, very tricky. I'm curious. I'm going to put this on the list. I don't know that we're going to want to bet multiple short home favorites. So it'll be curious to me, like, are the Bears a short home favorite we like? Are the Falcons a short home favorite like? Is there going to be somebody else? We'll have to wait and see. We'll see as we get closer.